I hope it's not too loud. The internet speed in our hostel is terrible, so I had to come to this coffee shop. So a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks. We've been traveling around and went to Quito, trying to get some professional things done. Absolute disaster. Totally way more expensive than I ever would have imagined, and nothing happened. So now we're heading off into the Amazon, and we were blessed and very pleasantly surprised to discover that there's a house waiting for us, which is a lot more than we expected. So that is totally cool. Um, and on the way to to Macas, right? So we're going to Macas, and then we're going to Yo Big C, what's going on? And then we're going to Gualaquiza, which is where the vision, the ayahuasca vision that I'm going to describe later on in this live stream, actually occurred. It's Shuar territory. It's kind of mountainous, so it's not quite as hot as a lot of the other areas in the Amazon. Um, Lots of mosquitoes, volcanoes. It's a really crazy place. Okay, so ayahuasca has not been studied exclusively for or specifically for Lyme's disease, um, but a lot of people have reported feeling a lot better after drinking it, and I felt like I was 20 years old again after the first couple of ayahuasca sessions that I had. And so we'll get to why I think it could help, and why I think I have Lyme disease and all that stuff. So when I was like 21 years old, I suddenly became very, very ill, extremely ill. Um, it started with a weird rash that kind of would like flash red in like lines. It's really hard to describe. It almost looked like tic-tac-toe, and it would fade in and out. It was crazy. And I was in extreme well, actually, Charles, where I'm going, I can't eat meat, so that's I will, but I think I'm going to stay on track with the story here. So I got super sick. I was screaming in agony and pain. It started out with a bowel problem. Like I was driving home one day and suddenly I had like 2 seconds to get to a toilet, or it was going to be a disaster. And I was 21. That was kind of weird. And then a couple days later, one of my hands felt like it was like in a fire all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? It only lasted for like 2 hours, but it was excruciating. And then a few weeks later, that pain came back, only this time my entire body was like, it's like I was thrown into an oven. I was screaming in bed. I couldn't sleep for like 5 days. Um, I remember taking a shower and I coughed up like this hard like mucus ball that was like bloody and the size of like a golf ball. It was just, hold on, I'm going to try to reposition myself a little bit here. Yeah, it's a little bit nicer. um, so I thought, I must have West Nile virus, which was going around at the time. My roommate had it. Um, yeah, ayahuasca does all kinds of crazy things, and we'll get there. Um, but so I was really extremely lethargic, very sick for months and months, and it would go away, and it was like torture because I thought, okay, now I'm better, and then it would come back. I would wake up sick again. So this has gone on for those 21 odd years, off and on, with varying degrees of severity, and it's just in the last, like I would say, 2 or 3 years that it's gotten so bad that it's debilitating. Um, and I've never gotten a diagnosis of Lyme's disease for a couple of reasons. There's a sounds like he's blending a drink down there. There's this like panel test where they test you for like Brugdorsky and a couple of the other co-infections. Because when you get Lyme's disease, when you're bitten by a tick, usually you get like 3 different parasites. Man, this is so loud. I apologize about that, you guys. I'm sure he'll be done blending in a minute. I don't know if you can hear it even, but so you get, all these different parasites at once. It's not just the spirochetes of Lyme's disease. You also get, oh man, I just looked up the names of these and I already have forgotten, but it doesn't matter. They're bad. Um, okay, sounds good, right on. It's driving me crazy. It's very distracting, but it's best we're going to do for now. So you get at least like usually the two Lyme's disease, the spirochetes plus 2 co-infections is pretty standard. And so the spirochetes drill into your soft tissue, they drill into your brain, They cause you tremendous pain. Eventually, it's neurodegenerative, so your brain is basically being broken down. Your nervous system is being damaged. Your relationships are being destroyed. You're probably on opiate painkillers, which happened to me off and on for years. In fact, I just weaned myself off of tramadol again. It's an absolute nightmare, and the testing is extremely inaccurate, and it doesn't. It often will give you a false positive or a false negative. So okay, so here's what happens. Um, I got lost in the mountains in Northern California for 4 days and 4 nights, wearing a T-shirt. I was collecting black trumpet mushrooms to sell. It was one of the things that I did, one of my streams of income. And so I was up on this ridge on the California coast, and I got around to the backside of the bushes on the backside of the mountain. Like I went around to the other side of the bushes where I was collecting without noticing. And so I went down the wrong side of the mountain when it started to get dark. I was just really excited because I'd never found a patch this large before. And there were some other mushrooms that were valuable everywhere. And, it was just time got away from me. And I heard a mountain lion and its cub nearby. And I took note of that and thought, well, it sounds like she's far enough away that I don't really care. And um, later I cared a lot. She spent probably 3 hours trying to decide whether to eat me or not. So I realize the sun's going down. I know I'm not getting out of there that night. So I go into a ring of reed grasses, really, really tall reed grasses. And they have like these feathery seeds on the top. And since I was only in a t-shirt and it was November in Northern California, I started stuffing my clothes with the feathers on the grass to try to insulate and stay warm, and they were full of ticks. So the next day, when I pulled all the reed grasses out, I had tick bites all over the place. And the mountain lion. So I'm laying in the reed grasses, completely stuffed in my clothes with the tufts of seeds, and the mountain lion I had heard the cub earlier uh, came down right to the edge of the reed grasses and just walked around it, like muttering under her breath, kind of, just like obviously aggravated that I was there. And I don't think she had any real desire to eat me or anything, but she had a cub and I was too close to the den. And so she was just pacing. And I'm laying in there with nothing. I didn't even have actually, I flicked my lighter, I remember once, and then the second time it went out. So my lighter died on me, couldn't build a fire, couldn't do anything. So the next day, I'm walking and walking and walking back and forth trying to figure out how to get out. I was lost. And I walked one way, and then when I walked back, there was a mountain lion track in my boot print, right? So I realized, shit, fucking cat is following me. So eventually I heard a Mack truck blow its horn, and that told me what direction to go in. I ran up to the top after 4 days of being in there, probably borderline hypothermic, and I could see, I was like, okay, there's the highway, but that doesn't mean I'm going to land on my car. I'm still going to have to figure out which way to go to get to my car. And then I jump down and I land right on the hood of my car. And I was like, oh, there's my Beamer. Sweet. So this is how this ties into the story, right? I've been sick forever and I haven't been able to figure it out. It goes away for years, then it comes back. And in the last few years, it's been so bad that, it's like the tissue in my mouth is disappearing because the spirochetes destroy all your soft tissue. And I mean, if you guys follow my channel, was like a year almost where I was more or less bedridden all the time. I mean, it has destroyed me. It's been really bad. I'm starting to feel a little better because I changed my diet and I did a bunch of things, right? And a year living in the jungle and eating almost nothing but jungle plants and drinking this tea that I made with unidagato and guayusa and every plant medicine that the Quechua could come up with, basically all mixed together in one tea. So, I am doing better, but I still, I need to get this all the way fixed so I can get back to my life. Um, and so maybe 2 years ago, I was I was in Gualaquiza, where we're heading, which is no coincidence, I feel like. Um, I was in Gualaquiza and I drank ayahuasca, and there was like this gobbledygook that turned into, in the vision, you know, it was like this weird gobbledygook, and then it turned into this like geisha, sort of alien geisha woman, and she's just like sitting there looking at me, and I was like, you know what? I'm really tired of all these visions that don't make any sense. I need you to give me something I can use. And the weird alien geisha woman that made this gesture from her chest, like here, and these like green, like if Japanese was from another dimension kind of characters floated up out of her heart. And she's like, here, you know, here's something you can use. And I'm like, what am I going to do with that? And she's like, you'll make music with them. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but I still don't know what to do with that. You're still not really giving me anything I can use. And she said, okay, well, how about this? Remember when you were lost in in the mountains in California? Uh, yeah. And she's like, well, you have all these bugs. And she opened up my stomach so that I could see all these little bugs, like just wiggling around, and like my entire bloodstream and my guts were just full of them. And it didn't occur to me at the moment that they looked like spirochetes. And I assumed because I was drinking out of creeks and stuff while I was lost that I had contracted a parasite. But I'm not stupid. I went to really fast running water and also streams that were coming out of bedrock on the side of the mountain, or springs, I mean, you know, and I was drinking out of leaves that, you know, I mean, I could have gotten a parasite, but, you know, it didn't occur to me that the tick that bit me, it did leave a bullseye. And so I guess I was riding back to Gualaquiza today, and because I was going to the same place again, I remembered that experience. And okay, here's where it gets really interesting, though. Um, After she showed me the bugs, she said, I can kill the bugs, but I can't flush the eggs out of your system. But if you go into the jungle, I'll show you which plant to pick to kill them. And you know, I just assumed that she was talking about just run of the mill parasites. But now I'm realizing that she didn't say that. I just I just kind of interpreted, which is a big lesson with plant medicine. You know, you really have to, you know, whether you're speaking to your subconscious or you're really actually communicating with like um, a spirit, you know, it doesn't really matter. The things that consciousness, whatever it is, has told me have never failed to be true, right? But when you make your own interpretations, oftentimes, you know, you really have to be careful and mindful about that. So she wanted me to go into the jungle and find the plant. And so I didn't want to do that. It was like the second, third time I drank ayahuasca, and it's like, you know, 2 in the morning in the Amazon rainforest. I'm not really trying to go out in the jungle and dig around in the, you know what I mean? Like, I eventually, like, since then, I go out in the jungle at night and I'm fine. But at the time, it was seriously my second day in the Amazon rainforest in the middle of the night. And I have this, like, alien being telling me to go out in the jungle and eat a plant. And I'm like, no way. So the thing is, though, shaman, that's how they find the medicine. If you know someone's bitten by a snake and they needed to know what is the proper plant to treat the snake bite, the shaman drinks ayahuasca and he'll go and look in the jungle, and the plant that turns into a snake head, that's the one that he takes, and then he listens to what the jungle tells him, you know, how to make the doses and everything. So it is something that is what this is what shamans would do, right? Another interesting element of the story is that okay, so I should finish this though. So my plan is this time I'm going to do it because I regretted for years that I didn't at least go and pick the plant and then find out what it is, make sure that it's not, at least it's not poisonous, try to identify it, and then if it at least seems safe, I'll continue to drink ayahuasca and see what it is that she's telling me to do. I've also heard that people are having a lot of success treating it with uña de gato. And, you know, since this original experience, I've had a ton of experience, you know, studying with Sward, learning how to brew ayahuasca with different plants for different purposes and everything. So I'm not just like, you know, blindly going into this. Like, I know what I'm doing. But this time, you know, I'm going to go back into the Gualaquiza jungle, drink ayahuasca again. I'm going to be eating a vegan diet because those are the rules of the place where I'm going to stay. I'm not actually too excited about that, except that I know that a vegan diet can be very cleansing, and you know, in preparation for this, it seems appropriate. that I would, eat a vegan diet for a while. Although, just FYI, this thing about not eating red meat or any meat before you drink ayahuasca is just a modern. The Shuar here will eat primates and then drink ayahuasca, or they'll eat a monkey after ayahuasca. Um, it's not real. Like, it's not traditional. It's got nothing to do with tradition. It's just some hippie thing that cultural appropriation is at its worst when you appropriate things and then make shit up. You know what I mean? I really hate that. And that's happened a lot with ayahuasca. There's no prohibition on eating anything traditionally. But anyways, that's the plan, and I'm going to document everything. I'm going to find out what this plant is, and who knows, you guys? Maybe I will discover a cure for Lyme's disease, and I can bring it out of the jungle and show people. In Unidigato, I started to talk about cat's claw. The list of things that have been treated successfully with cat's claw is really, really long. Um, Anti-tumor, anti-inflammatory. Uh, Anti-spasmodic. I mean, it's a long list. I'm not going to try to recite it all here, but so that's basically the gist of the plan here. Interestingly, as well, the next day I was walking with the shaman through Gualaquiza, and I was like, oh man, I feel better than I have since I was 20 years old. This is amazing. And he said, you will get sick again. And I was just crushed. Like, what? Why would you say that? And he's like, well, you're becoming a shaman. And then it's said that if the shaman does not continue to shamanize after he cures himself, he will get sick again. And whether it means crazy, because a shaman is almost always, traditionally at least, it's not some gringo that paid a shaman $3,000 to let him apprentice for 3 years. That's also not real. That's something the ayahuasca industry has just created. That's no tribe anywhere is that a thing. It's totally fake. Apprenticing to become a shaman. This is just ayahuasca industry way to make money from people. Um, a shaman is a person who has either become mentally ill or physically ill to the point that he's near death, and he has put himself back together, or he has healed himself, and therefore he knows how to do it for other people. He's done it with only the assistance of the plants and plant spirits. That's it. Drumming and singing as well, but nothing else. So, um, so he says you must go back to the United States and you must heal your people and share your consciousness with them by singing. I didn't do that, and I did get sick again. So, and sicker than ever. So, perhaps I should have listened to the shaman and returned to the United States and tried to get my music, going instead of running away to the jungle. Um, just a thought. So that's the plan, you guys. I am going to drink ayahuasca again in the next probably 7 days after some preparation, and I'm going to apologize to Pachamama for not going to find the plant when she told me, I'll show you which plant to use to kill the bugs. And I was like, hell no. I'm not going out in the jungle right now. It's dark and, no. Um, this time I'll do it, and I'll do it safely. I'm not going to be a fool. But I do trust ayahuasca. I mean, got to be smart, but I'm 80% certain, 85% certain that it was true. She would have just showed me the plant that I needed to consume to kill the spirochetes and the other parasites. But I didn't have enough trust in myself or the medicine at that point to do something that crazy. And it was late at night, and I'd been on ayahuasca for 6 hours, and I I didn't think, go get the plant and then find out what it is and make sure it's safe before you consume it, stupid. Don't just ignore this. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to do it now. And like I said, I'll try to do my best to identify the plant. I'll take it to the local Shuar, the indigenous people here. If you don't know who they are, by the way, I'm really lucky to be in this part of Ecuador because the Shuar have, next to the Shipibo, the best knowledge of the plants in the jungle of anyone. It outdoes medical science on a regular basis. Um, One of the best examples is the snakebite concoction. They will not tell anyone. They don't even not Shuar don't teach all Shuar about the plants. Only the brightest and the best. It's almost like the Navy SEALs of their tribes or whatever. Get to the Mensa Shuar, get taught the secrets of the plants and how to combine them and how to mix them. Um, So they have the best knowledge of the plant. So if I do find some plant that I can't identify, I can bring it to the Schwar and see at least if it's safe to eat. By the way, you guys, do me a favor and hit the like button, share, subscribe, join our Patreon for our secret streams, and there are also a bunch of ways to support in the description. Um, we need your support now more than ever. This, between my health and getting hacked, and this last problem in keto, we're doing this by the skin of my teeth. It's pretty uncomfortable, so we could really use some support right now. I was actually going to create a GoFundMe, but after what they did to the truckers, I don't want to support them at all. Whether you agree with the truckers in Canada or not, what GoFundMe did needs to be protested. Period. Doesn't matter whether you agree with the truckers. So I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And it's not just for us. Every single dime that we spend while I'm on this mission goes into indigenous communities that are getting very little money right now. I mean, in the time that we've been here, we have given away way more money than we can afford because people have been hurt so badly by COVID that we'll be like eating in a restaurant or in a coffee shop, having a cup of coffee, and people will come in one after the other and ask for money for food. So, and how do you say no to that? A lot of times they have children, and it's just so bad that the store owners and restaurant owners don't stop them. So I want to be able to continue to give and help people here, but we're struggling ourselves. So please do support the channel. I'm trying to think if there's any more to this. I mean, I know that I felt better after every time I have consumed ayahuasca, but it didn't totally cure either. Oh, another element of this that is worth mentioning is that no matter what happens in terms of actually curing the the Lyme's disease, um, the neuroregenerative capacities of this medicine are going to help people to rebuild their brain. It has hurt me a lot. Like I used to be a lot more sharp, a lot more articulate. Um, Right on, Charles. I'm sure they appreciate that. You have supported us as well, and I definitely appreciate it. Tonight, I was planning to try to just keep streaming to try to raise $100. That's just basically what I need to do is raise $100 before we go into the jungle. Because once we go into the jungle, like we have to buy all our supplies because we're going way out in the jungle, and coming back is not really an option. So we ended up having to travel way more days than we thought. I was trying to sell a guitar in Quito and it fell through, so we ended up spending all this money to go up there, and it didn't happen. So we're like, fuck, So that's not good. That's not good at all. So, um, so yeah, like I said, you guys, we really appreciate your support. One of the things I'm trying to do is get better so that I have the strength and the energy to go help clean up some of the oil spills in other parts of the Amazon. Oh, I was going to tell you guys, by the way, if you don't know who the Shuar are, the indigenous people here, it's one of the most interesting tribes in the Amazon. They're the ones that are famous for shrinking heads, not just headhunters, but shrinking heads. They would remove their enemies' heads, and then they would take the skin off, shrink the skull and the skin, and then put them back together and sew the eyes, nose, mouth, and ear holes shut, and the neck hole, so that the soul of their enemy couldn't come and stalk them and track them. And it was ayahuasca that taught them to do this. Another reason why, these people that try to act like you have to be a vegan to drink ayahuasca are out of their minds. It just has nothing to do historically with ayahuasca. Um, Ayahuasca Pachamama will cackle while you're sitting around shrinking your enemy's head. You know what I mean? It was part of an ayahuasca ceremony to shrink the heads. So a lot of myths about ayahuasca. But I'm excited about this. I feel like I put it off for far too long. I was just so sick that I was afraid to drink ayahuasca, honestly. I haven't touched plant medicine in a couple of years. And I feel a little bit hypocritical about that because I'm such an advocate. Yeah, well, if they don't support censorship, then they have my support. But yeah, I mean, I was just so sick that I knew it was what I needed, but I couldn't imagine actually doing it. So now that I feel a little bit better, and it's amazing that I'm in this place, and we were invited to go to Gualaquiza, to this house to stay, and it just hit me. I'm in the same part of the Amazon Where last time I drank the ayahuasca, and Pachamama told me, go into the jungle and find this plant, and it will kill the bugs. And then check this out. So this is another element of how amazing ayahuasca is as at healing. Even though, by the way, ayahuasca is traditionally not used to heal anything. Hate to burst your bubble if you believe that it did, but it was used to get information, and then the shaman would heal. It's not, people didn't drink ayahuasca in groups traditionally. It was not drink, no one drank it to heal anything. It was just used to get information, to heal people sometimes, but this is a new thing. But that's how I'm using it, to get information about which plants to use in conjunction with ayahuasca. One of the theories, by the way, of healing with ayahuasca using other plants is that it opens your being up to be more receptive to the. It makes the other plants more efficacy. How's it? More efficacious. How's it going, Tommy? Um, So it's like it boosts the power of all the ally plants. So if you have a closed heart and you take Bobansana, it will help. But if you take Bobansana with ayahuasca, it will help a lot more. And then Uña de Gato is, the shamans say that it's like a jaguar. It actually has like cat's claws that it uses to hold on to the trees to get to the canopy. And so the shaman says, it hooks the things in your body that shouldn't be there, drags them out like a jaguar. Um, and this is one of the ways that nature communicates with us. There are a lot of mushrooms that are good for your brain that look just like a brain. So there are it's like this 33rd degree Freemason Albert Pikes wrote in Morals and Dogma that the true scripture is writ large upon the land for those who can see it. And right on, man. I appreciate that. I'm glad you got some value from it. And so that's one of the things that, the synchronicities are one element of that. And then learning to read nature is another element. For example, if you consume something toxic in nature, usually the antidote, if it grows at all, will be within 50 feet or 100 feet. Poison ivy, for example, there's a yellow flower, I can't remember what it's called, but it's always growing within 50 feet of poison ivy. And if you get poison ivy on you and then you go get the yellow plants and rub it on where the poison ivy was, the oils will disintegrate and you won't get poison ivy. And so there's a lot of that in nature. And so if how to read the signs, symbols, hints, and clues, the writing's on the wall, but the rest is up to you. you know. So yeah, I mean, between going on a vegan diet for a while, for lack of choice, and also I'm going to start making this super tea that I make, and also Dr. Santi, which is a tree that's kind of like dragon's blood that you cut, and there's like this white latex that oozes out, and you collect it and drink it. It kind of tastes like a cross between Pepto-Bismol and a wet dog, so it's not really great, but the Shuar and especially the Shuar, but the Quechua and the Warani, not so much. No, they don't use it. But the Quechua and the Shuar say that Dr. Santi literally will cure anything. So I'm going to just drink it all the time. I'm going to collect all my own plants. Uña de gato, the cat's claw, cut it myself every day. Make big giant teas with guayusa, mapacho tobacco. That might sound crazy to you, but trust me, it's not. If you have anything living in your body that is not supposed to be there, drinking mapacho tobacco safely is, and it's totally, if you know what you're doing, it's safe, will kill parasites and anything that's not supposed to be in your system. And it helps with, yeah, it's not going to be super long term. I'm not into veganism either. I have never seen a vegan that I couldn't identify by sight. You know what I mean? Like, you're kind of green and pasty and your eyes are sunken in a little bit too much. I bet you're vegan. You know what I mean? It's 100% of the time I can spot a vegan. 100%. So I agree. I don't, people say there are healthy ways to do it, but I think if you're an omnivore, you are an omnivore, and you probably shouldn't eat vegan. Because somebody in the comments of my last video, because I mentioned this place is vegan, and I kind of didn't like the idea that other people are making rules for people, that's not okay in my world, unless the thing that you're making rules about will affect you somehow. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not. Um, But anyway, somebody in the comments was like, "Oh yeah, well, I guess you're just not enlightened because if you were, you would eat vegan." And I thought better from you that you would see through the cultural bullshit. Like, wait, what? You think eating meat is a cultural narrative? That's what he called it, a cultural narrative. Which culture? Every culture on Earth, almost, except for like two, eat meat. Like literally, almost every culture on the planet. So the only cultural narrative in terms of diet is veganism. It was just like the most brain dead comment I think I've up there with the most brain dead shit I've ever seen in my like calling omnivores humans eating an omnivorous diet cultural BS when veganism is the only cultural diet that I can think of. Like keto and veganism are, it's just the most whacked out bullshit I've ever heard. And another reason not to eat vegan is that like if you eat a lot of soy, the combines that harvest the soy, they just destroy every animal in their path. Their vultures fly behind the soy combines and eat all of the murdered turtles and um, okay, sure, vegetarians, but they're not vegans. Um, and, like I said, just about every culture except for one or two. I didn't say no cultures, but there's like some Indians, and then there's some people in Tibet that are vegetarian, or the Tibetans aren't vegan either because they eat rancid butter. They drink rancid butter tea. So I'm just saying to call omnivore diet a cultural narrative is brain dead. It's totally brain dead. Thanks a lot, Kimberly. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I miss plant medicine. I feel like I really could have used the guidance. I've made some, pretty big mistakes over the last couple of years. I think if I had been drinking plant medicine, I wouldn't have. Doubting my intuition, when it was really crucial, and being sick, especially when you're sick to the point of being debilitated, is it's it's been horrible. I mean, I'm not trying to you know whine, but it's I feel so bad for my partner. I mean, she's been mostly raising our child alone because I spent most of his life in bed 10 to 12 hours. I mean, during my waking hours, like I would get up to eat and I would be hanging my head. I mean, it was really, really bad, you know. And I wasn't as friendly as I could be. I mean, it's terrible. And also, because of the nature of the illness, my neurological stuff that's been happening, um, so I'm ready for it to be over. And I'm really thankful that I'm feeling better. I'm really thankful that I figured out that ketamine could help me to get back off the opioids because, and I'm glad I took the opioids. I don't regret that either because everything was necessary, right? I am not like a plant medicine, all natural, I don't eat processed food, right? But I think LSD is the most amazing thing since there's ayahuasca, basically. I mean, and actually for the neuro regenerative stuff, ayahuasca is, I mean, LSD is better than psilocybin or DMT. If they've done studies in vitro and in situ of, neurons, and the neurogenesis and neuroplasticity is enhanced more with LSD than any of the other psychedelics. So, you know what I mean? I'm not against like modern medicine. I just think you need to use it intelligently and not blindly trust big pharma and be really careful. I mean, even this most recent, I got physically dependent upon tramadol, which is different from being like addicted to it. I don't crave it. I don't want to take it. I don't get high on it. I just used it to manage pain. The thing is, your body doesn't care if you're using it because you needed to get out of bed. You're still going to have to go through withdrawal. So I just had this intuition. Well, you know what? I bet ketamine would make your brain neuroplastic enough to just rewire itself, and you would not even go through withdrawal. And And so I Googled it, and it turned out that there have already been studies, and they were blown away. They were like, wow, because you give people Suboxone and wean them off of opioids, and they still go through hell. And it does all kinds of brain damage. Ketamine actually enhances intelligence, as long as it's not overused, enhances intelligence, improves cognition, improves memory. It gets rid of untreatable depression, and it stops opioid withdrawals completely, which if you've ever been through that, it's like the worst thing ever. And I've been able to get off of, I was taking 1,000 milligrams of tramadol a day, and I was able to get all the way off of it in a week with almost no discomfort because of a little bit of ketamine. I mean, that's a miracle. That's literally a miracle. So, psychedelic medicine is absolutely extraordinary. Um, Oh, I didn't tell you about what the intelligence of Pachamama and how she manipulated my body to try to get these bugs out. Okay, so when she showed me all the bugs in my guts, right? Like 2 weeks later, because I was getting sicker and sicker, I was like, man, what the fuck is going on? It just kept getting worse. Every time I drank ayahuasca, I would spend longer and longer and longer on the toilet, to the point that one of the reasons I stopped drinking it is that I could never leave the toilet. Um, and I figured out why eventually. So the Shuar have this thing where they, every morning, the Quechua do it as well, but they don't vomit. Quechua get up, the women in particular get up at like 3 in the morning and start drinking guayusa. Um, the Shuar as well, not quite as early, but they drink it until they vomit. What is pot to Pachamama? It depends on who you ask. Some people say not to smoke pot with ayahuasca, but the Santo Daime in Brazil, the church, they smoke during ceremonies. No one has a problem. So, it what is true and what is not about ayahuasca varies from tribe to tribe. That's why, people that actually get really dogmatic about their ayahuasca practice and think they know the absolute truth don't know what they're talking about. Because if you come down here to the Amazon basin where there's 72 different ayahuasca drinking tribes, there's 72 different beliefs about what that constitutes and what is appropriate and what is not. And then from shaman to shaman, there's variation as well. So there is no standardized. Pachamama is what people tend to call the consciousness that you encounter when you drink ayahuasca. Um, another kind of bullshit thing is that actually, if people are not told whether Pachamama is male or female, only in studies, only 51% perceived Pachamama as being female. So if you're not already if you don't have preconceptions, chances are basically 50-50 that you will perceive Pachamama as male or neither, male or female. But the one thing that is universal is that people have this dialogue with this intelligence that seems more than human. And I have had her, I do experience this female, control my organs before in ways that are absolutely undeniable. My throat, when the shaman one night, it may have been the same night actually that Pachamama showed me all the bugs in my blood and in my stomach. Um, but I'd set up. Yeah, it was the same night. It was the same night because remember I was saying that alien geisha woman was like, here's something you can use, and the green characters floated out of her heart. And she said, you'll make music with them. And I was like, what? And then later, after the vision of the bugs was over, I sat up with my eyes closed, and I heard the shaman next to me say, the German girl, invite her to tea, but by the river. And I was blown away because I was sitting there thinking my partner Enrica's German, and we hadn't hooked up yet. And I was thinking I should invite her to tea because it's less threatening than like dinner. It's not as serious as a dinner date. And I said nothing out loud, and I hear from beside me the shaman say, "Yes, invite her to tea, but by the river." And I look over at him like, "What? What the fuck, man?" And he's like, I've been watching you. You have only drank ayahuasca like 6 times, and you're taking care of people that I have drank with 50 times, and you drink twice as much as anyone I've ever seen, and you can still function. He's like, clearly you're becoming a shaman, but you must sing. And the thing is, I would never sing at night. Like the at the end of the night we would all sing songs together. And the shaman was actually Czech, and he'd studied with Shuar people, and sometimes his teacher was there with us. Um, but I wouldn't sing, and so he started getting really mad because he could see that I was I had this gift for working with the medicine and working with people, but I wouldn't sing, you know. Um, and yeah, there's a big psychedelic scene in Czech. There's a lot of Czech people that come here to drink. So, anyways, finally he convinced me, you have to sing with me right now. And everyone's sitting around looking at us. And so I was like, okay. And I know, like, when you're really singing, Icaros also are not ayahuasca songs. It means healing through smoke in Quechua. It's when you blow smoke on like a plant when you harvest it, or a person, and you kind of like, they'll place their hand on your head and like suck bad energy out of your crown chakra basically, and they'll blow smoke, right? It's not it's come to mean ayahuasca songs, but that's not what a real Icaro is. That's misinformation. That's ayahuasca industry knowledge that isn't real. It's a misappropriated term. But anyways, so I started singing, and the weird thing about not wanting to sing during ceremony is that I was a professional musician in California for 10 years, and before that for 10 years in Colorado, but I just wouldn't do it during ceremony. And he's like, no, man, you're becoming a shaman. You have to sing. Like, you can't. And I know that. I'm like, okay, all right, dude. So I start trying making these sounds because you don't know the songs at first. It just comes through the medicine. And the sounds, my throat started opening, like, I don't know how to describe it, like muscles in places where I never would have imagined there were muscles. It was moving my lungs and my rib cage muscles in ways that I had never would have imagined. It was showing me how to make two pitches at once that were slightly out of phase to harmonize. Like, it was one of the craziest experiences I've ever had in my life. And that's what happens. Like, when you start learning to sing shamanically on ayahuasca, like, it actually takes control of your. I was expecting to just receive, these weird. Oftentimes they're in these what the shaman called syllables, but that's not really the right word. It's just his English isn't great. But they're sounds like skilere and re 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 or be 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 with this like out of tune little tail. Usually it'll go like a microtone out of tune to create this tension that has to be resolved. Um, but there's other aspects to it where your throat has to move in ways that you didn't know was possible. Um, so that was pretty extraordinary, and also not the point. But that's what she was talking about when she said you're going to use these characters to make music. And then I ended up singing with the shaman that night for the first time. And talk about being put on the spot, though. It's like a ceremony with all these people, and anyway, so okay, there was another. Okay, so like 2 weeks later, I'm back in Vilcabamba at the shaman's house, um, and there's this shwar thing where you drink guayusa until you vomit, and I had refused to vomit. Like, I didn't want to vomit. I hated vomiting. I like it now. You learn with ayahuasca, the purging is good for you, so embrace it, right? Um, so uh, I go, and there's this huge pot of, like, a huge metal kettle full of guayusa, and the shaman's like, please, except for my medicine, drink the guayusa. Here's a coconut, half a coconut, cut in half. Just drink it and drink it and drink it until you vomit, and vomit with joy, And I'm like, no. And he's like, please take my medicine, And the way he said it, there's no way I could say no. So I go out to the bushes to start drinking this medicine, and everybody else is just vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and I drink a bowl and I'm drinking it, and it's just going right through me. And I'm like, oh my God. And instead of vomiting, I'm having to run to the toilet over and over and over and over and over again. Like, this whole, finally, I drank a big bowl after, gallons. And I mean, it would go through me fast. Like, and remember when she said, I can flush the bugs out, but I can't kill the eggs? It was like the 10th time running to the toilet when I realized, holy shit, I'm not vomiting like everyone else, because she wants to push this water through me and flush as many of these bugs out of my system as she can. That was such a mind-blowing realization, to have this plant spirit tell me, I can flush the bugs out, but I cannot kill the eggs. And then I'm drinking this stuff trying to vomit, and I'm running to the toilet over and over and over again, like less than a minute. Um, By the way, you guys, one more time, because I am really in fundraising mode for real. I'm running out of skin on my teeth, and we are trying to do good work down here in the Amazon and get money into communities that really need it. Get myself healed. You know what I mean? So please, if you can support us, there are options in the description, and we really support it. We have merch even now. Um, you guys, wait till you guys see the TikTok I just put. There's this tree here called the Devil's Dick tree, basically, the Pine de Diablo, and it looks like it has all these penises hanging off of it. So I just went nuts giving this tree head and made a TikTok. It is absolutely hilarious, man. I found this like really gross Cardi B song. It is just hilarious. I'm gonna actually upload it to YouTube in my shorts. I don't know if I'll get in trouble though. I don't know. I'm gonna look and see what sexually suggestive content, if you can do that on YouTube. I don't know. I don't want to get myself deleted, but um, yeah, that video is hilarious. So, anyways, guys, I mean, that's basically the long and short of it, man. Ayahuasca told me that I should go into the jungle and identify this plant, and that it would. Well, Charles, right now, what we need is PayPal and Zelle, really, because I need to try to raise $100 by tomorrow. But that doesn't. It doesn't have to be a donation. Send me an email. People have paid me to. You can choose a topic for a video, right? Like this, the mystery school series I'm doing. Someone sent me some Bitcoin to do that. You know what I mean? So I'll make, $50 a half an hour finished. Not, I'm not going to charge you $50 an hour. $50 per half hour finished. So if I make you an hour long video, it's $100, right? Or I do FaceTime, $50 an hour. Integration, guitar lessons. There's all sorts of stuff I can do for you. Um, but yeah, I'm trying to raise $100 by tomorrow because we really got put through it on this traveling, man. It just when things didn't go well in keto, that really put a hurting on us. That was really bad. And I've told you guys about the hacker, and basically, I had made almost 10 grand trading crypto over 2 years. Someone stole it, all of it. And so I tried to go on with our plans as if it didn't happen, just hoping that I would make it up somehow, and it just didn't happen. So now we're like, shit. I mean, we're okay. We're not gonna die or anything. We're not like on the street, but it's. If I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit scared, not scared, but nervous about being this low on cash. But the important thing is that we get into the jungle and that I really start working on my health issues seriously. You know, um, because it would be amazing if I could really get healthy again. Obviously, what I really want to do is, get my health put back together. I should get about 30 grand sometime in the next 2 years. So, when I get that money, I'm going to go back to California. My band is still willing to record. So I'm going to take all of this experience, all this healing and shit, and go back to California once I have that money. Or, maybe our cryptos will explode before then. Um, but yeah, that's the plan, and I have made progress, and I appreciate all of you guys that have helped. A lot of you guys have offered support, and it has gotten us this far, which is awesome. It's more than I ever really could have expected when I started this channel. People have done a lot more for us than I would have thought, and especially since we got demonetized. If it wasn't for those people that support us here and there, I mean, I couldn't justify doing this. It does take a lot of my time. It takes a lot of time. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but if it's still there, I will go back and because my bass player Brian is a savant. Like, it's a 1 in 8 billion people is like this guy, and the two of us together, we were really getting phenomenal. It's the biggest regret of my life that I left that. But now I understand that if I had stayed, I would have gotten sicker and sicker, and I probably would have used bad drugs to cover up the suffering, and it wouldn't have been good. So, I needed to come down here to the Amazon and heal properly, and learn all about all these plants. Also, another option, you guys, is that you can come see me out in the jungle. I haven't discussed this with the people that own the property yet, so I'm not sure, but I'm definitely going to pitch to them that maybe we can hold ceremonies there. Um, it's amazing. I think I posted in the community here pictures of the property. Uh, and I mean, even if we can't do it there, one of the things that I don't want to add it to Patreon because Patreon takes like 10%, and it'd be a few $1,000s to do this. But if you want to come here for 2 weeks, I'll take you to the volcanoes, and we can go see Lighter Monkey in person, and drink ayahuasca, and go up into the mountains and drink San Pedro. Just anything you want to do for 14 days, for a couple of ETH or whatever. It's cool. Some people have done it, and definitely their lives have changed forever. I mean, um, which is great for me. I love watching that happen. I mean, I've watched people go from like totally matrix-minded, normal, to totally just awake and conscious in 20 minutes. I mean, ayahuasca is an amazing thing with the right person. So, um, anyways, this is just me rambling at this point. I should go back to the hotel. Uh, Thank you guys so much for supporting. Of course, I'm going to document this whole process. So there's going to be some cool videos, man. We're 40 minutes out in the jungle. I haven't been that deep in the jungle. 40 minutes in a car, like I've been 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in a boat, but this is 40 minutes in from the edge, just out in the Amazon. So all the animals are going to be there that are supposed to be, jaguar, anaconda. Um, I think the shuar have eaten all the monkeys, which is unfortunate. My friend Roman that runs Boss Medicinals out here in Gualaquiza, uh, yeah, I know the gas thing. But yeah, it's almost funny to me to listen to all the conservatives cry about the gas prices because they all say that you can make as much money as you want in America if you just work real hard, derp, derp, derp. Well, then shut the fuck up about the gas prices. You know what I mean? Just go become a millionaire. That's what you got to say, right? All you got to do is work real hard and you'll be a millionaire, right? What are you whining about? And, blaming the left for it is pretty damn stupid as well because sure, Biden might be pushing the gas prices up, but your Republican politicians love it because they're all in the oil companies' pockets, right? So they tell you, oh yeah, fuck the left, they're driving up the gas prices, but when the cameras are off, they're like, thank you, Joe Biden, for making us all richer than we ever believed. You know what I mean? Just stop blaming the other side for everything, dude. All of them are fucking. It's all of them. They're all in cahoots together. Stop it with the fucking polemic. It's not helping anything, and it's not real. You're not on the side that's winning. You're not on the better side. No one is. They're all bad. They're all doing it. It's not. Anyways, that's a topic for another live stream. Thank you guys so much for spending this time with me, and